Good morning and welcome, gents, and welcome to the first week of CCK's fourth year. Some might call it the greatest dynasty league in all of the fine green earth. This is your commissioner, Tim, back at you for the first video of the season. I cannot be more excited to get things off, kicking things off with y'all for the season ahead. It's going to be phenomenally fun and I've been slacking. This is the first video going out to all of you. I wanted to make a fun video. I've been working on some new video formats to make sure that we can do something a little bit new, a little bit more spicy, a little bit more fun for the year. The content's going to be a little bit short on this one. We're just going to go through a quick recap of the first week matchups and a little preview of the week 2 going up, as well as the first week of the power rankings that we always like to do. So we'll have much more fun videos coming up ahead. I promise. I'm not going to miss a week. And with that said, let's get things kicking off with the first week recaps. First game to highlight on the recaps, none other than what probably should have been the matchup for the finals last year for the Cup. And this match did not disappoint. The top 2 points separated just by less than a point. Obviously, with CMC injured last minute, left Montemir Cats with really minimal options, but Debo pulled it out. Gets Montemir Cats up on the 1-0 block to start leading the season. Some of the leaders that he has, Saquon Barkley, 3 touchdowns. It was great to see. He's going to have a phenomenal year, I think. Some might think a career season ahead behind that phenomenal offensive line that he's never been able to play behind. And on the stinker side, it's a little surprising to see such a high expectation season coming in for Dalton Kincaid, really stinking it up pretty big time. But we saw a lot of weird results in week 1, as we'll see in the stinker section going forward. As for my team, great to see Josh Allen getting the rush touchdowns as he always does. But I'm certainly going to have to see how the Atlanta Falcons offense looks. And hopefully Kirk Cousins is not a washed guy. And as these Achilles gets under him a little bit more, we'll see a little bit more of that going ahead. And hopefully we'll see a little bit more on the Atlanta Falcons action. Now, speaking of the Falcons offense, Bills Mafia pulls ahead. I know I don't have the leaders in here for Bijan Robinson, but that's definitely a player I want to be able to highlight for Bills Mafia because finally knows how to use the best fucking running back, probably the most talented running back in the game correctly. I believe he was on the field for all of 80% plus of snap share. And it was really, really good to see Bijan finally getting utilized and unleashed in the second season. Has a really good shot to be a RB1 at the end of the season in terms of dynasty. Bills Mafia pulls off the win against Mr. Ambassador here. Mr. Ambassador has got a great future. A lot of the rookies, a lot of young players doing really, really well on his team. It's great to see Xavier Worthy pulling off that I think was a reverse pass that he just ran in for about a 20-yard scamper, I think, and got to see that blitzing speed there. So Bills Mafia goes up 1-0. Mr. Ambassador drops to 0-1. And I think the one couple teams to look at, players to look at on both of these managers' teams is Mark Andrews. Really got a lot of stuff taken away from Isaiah Likely. Underlying numbers and usage was actually pretty good for Mark Andrews, but he certainly didn't get any of the action coming his way. So we'll see if this starts to average out a little bit or if it's Isaiah Likely's time to take the mantle away from Mark Andrews. Rome Odunze, unfortunately, looks like he's going to be out, whether it's a sprain, hopefully it's nothing serious, but definitely had a stinker. That entire Chicago Bears offense certainly was a little overrated and overhyped coming into week 1. We'll see what happens. It's got a big matchup, Chicago Bears, I believe, against Houston. So it's going to be the CJ versus Caleb show. So 2 of the brightest or the highest potential young quarterbacks in the league. It's going to be exciting to see. And a lot of us have fantasy relevant players associated with both of that matchup. All right. Third matchup, we got Brady Stir Dynasty pulling off the win against Full Jerry. Full Jerry starting off another season with a disappointing loss here, scoring under 100 points. It was great to see Cooper Kupp being utilized. This looked like prime Cooper Kupp. I believe it was his 2021 season, 2022 season that he really, really took off before the injury. But it was great to see him. And it sounds like we're going to see Cooper Kupp's usage being pretty high for the next 4 to 5 weeks. Looks like the young buck Puka Nakua is going to be out for extended period. It looks like 4 to 5 weeks or more. Uh, Thankfully, nothing of a more than just a sprain, but you should see a lot of Cooper Cup usage, and hopefully the reverse that happened to Cooper Cup when he went down with an injury last year is when we really, really got to see Puka taken off. Maybe this is going to balance the power on the receiver slots, and whoever is a wide receiver one, wide receiver two, I'm sure there's going to be plenty of passing activity on that team. Leaders for Brady's third dynasty was really great to see Alvin Kamara and Devin Achan being used well. I think Devin is a questionable game time decision for this Thursday night football tonight. And certainly stinker for him is just Deshaun Watson. There was another allegation coming up, another lawsuit that's being filed. We'll see what happens. I think that QB2 position is going to continue to haunt Brady's third dynasty. So we'll see if he gets that relief throughout the season. And full Jerry, Travis Kelce. Um, Maybe he's focused too much on his love life. Maybe he's too old, or maybe it was just that it was just week one blunders. And really, for the Kansas City Chiefs, the first 18 weeks of the season is just basically preseason for them. But hopefully, in week two and beyond, we'll see that shit being righted. Moving over to the matchup number three, two shots, no cup. Oaksy Fingerhook. Both of these teams fared well. They hired much higher. Two shots, no cup. I believe his average was 65 last year, so it was really, really great to see 80 plus point outing out of two shots, no cup. And Jaden Daniels might not be looking perfect quite yet and comfortable in the pocket, but certainly rushing quarterbacks are a Konami code in fantasy football, and we saw it with Jaden Daniels scoring over 28 points. Stinker for him is another quarterback he picked up last year with Bryce Young. He just looks lost. Looks like he's got his entire confidence just shot. Who knows what happens with the Panthers and Bryce Young, but at least he's got a bright one in Jaden Daniels. As for Brad and Wooksy Fingerhold, he moves up to 1-0. Jerome Ford on that spot start. Looks like he's going to be having that kind of a right running back one type of usage out until we see Nick Chubb being back. Maybe it will come back week 4, week 5. But Jerome Ford will be a great spot starter in the early part of the season for him. And stinker Caleb Williams. I think there's a lot of hype, a lot of expectations going in for this young man coming into the season with all that weapon surrounding him. Just really wasn't able to get the offense going at all. There were some flashes of moments that Caleb is well capable of, and hopefully we're going to see that start to convert a little bit, like I mentioned, against the Houston matchup coming up, I believe, on Sunday. But that's it. Great to see Brad moving up onto the winner column with 1-0 start the season. Fourth match of the season, Travis pulls a win against Kevin here. Kevin looks like he might have a chance to be this year's Eve. But moving over, just talking about Travis real quick, Joe Mixon might be a top 5 running back for this season. It looks like he just got everything renewed for him. Playing that Houston, I believe with 30 rushes, that's incredible. Almost no other running back with any carry, and certainly led the entire league in week 1 with the volume that he had. And that Houston offense, as we all know, is pretty high-powered, high-octane offense. So if Joe Mixon is going to be using all 3 downs, run to the ground on that team as the aging running back he is, it looks like he's still got a lot of energy behind him. So it's going to be great to see. But man, talking about his former team, I am really concerned about Joe Burrow. I feel like there's something that they're not sharing regarding his actual wrist injury. He just doesn't look right. But again, it's the Bengals and they never start well. But there's tremendous talent, obviously, with Joe Burrow, and certainly a lot of rust with Jamar Chase playing the contract game on his 3rd year, going into his 3rd year in the league, trying to pull off one of the historic extensions in that quick time period. Obviously didn't work out. He's got no leverage. So hopefully, certainly well before the midseason, we're going to see both of those guys start clicking for Huge Dicka. But Chris Olave, the day when there were 30-plus points for the Saints offense with Derek Carr throwing for 3 tutties, man, you probably would have thought Chris Olave had a game. He was the lowest receiver of the starters on that team, only recorded 2.1 points for him. Again, week 1 blunders, who knows what happens, but certainly something to look out for here. Kevin, with Anthony Richardson, looks great. He had that one great throw, that 60-yard plus banger. That kid's got an arm for sure. Certainly you're going to get a lot of rushing offense, a little bit lighter versions in Jaden Daniels on the ground. I think there's still a lot of questions around his inconsistencies in terms of throwing. You take that 160-yard throw out, I think everyone's going to be talking about Anthony Richardson as another version of Justin Fields, even less accurate. And Marvin Harrison, another week one blunder. I think kid's obviously supremely talented. Kyler just threw for barely over 150 yards, so there wasn't really much yardage to go around. But the concerning point was the underlying utilization for Marvin on the reps per run, targets, everything itself was pretty subpar. Certainly not what you would expect for the fourth player picked in the rookie draft and the first skill position player outside of the quarterbacks to be picked in the NFL draft this year. But Maserati Marv will pick it up, I'm sure. And looks like the news says the offensive coordinator is obviously going to be putting the forefront of trying to highlight Marvin Harrison a little bit more moving forward. So that said, here are the power rankings for week one, gentlemen. I've got Moncton Meerkats at 1, Bills Mafia at 2, Brady Star Dynasty at 3, and the first team with the losing record, my team, Trust the Process, sitting at 4 over Huge Dickup. And you round it out with Full Jerry, Mr. Ambassador, Wooksy Kevin, and 2 shots. I think Moncton, no one would doubt if you look at points for 1 and 0, and certainly between Bills Mafia and Brady Star Dynasty, you can flip both. I'm much more concerned about his QB2 output for Brady Star Dynasty. And really here, like I said, in the beginning part of the season through the midseason, it's all about the playoff probability odds. So obviously, if you're in the winning column, you're likely going to be likely to make the playoffs over the teams that went 0-1 to start the season. Really, week one doesn't really mean much. I think if we did preseason manager interviews, most of the rankings, at least from a tier selection standpoint, the top 4 teams, I think everyone would have bucketed it. The middle 2 teams, everyone would have probably had it. And it's the debate on the bottom 4 teams. But that said, I do think there's going to be a different name in the playoffs this year than what we saw last year. Who that is to be, left to be seen. But I think it's going to be a really good season. We saw a lot of really great young players on Moncton Meerkats, on Mr. Ambassador, on those rosters ahead who are performing really well. So I'm really excited for this season ahead, and was excited about the results. I'm excited that it's already Thursday night for us to be watching this splendid game together. All right, so I'm going to go over the week 2 matchup previews. Doing a little bit different format this year. So looking ahead for week 2, you got matchup number 1. It's going to be Wooksy Fingerhold against Trusted Process. I got the sleeper projections, and Trusted Process is at 72% probability. I've obviously got picks on me for Trusted Process. I'm really hoping A-Chain does not start. I would love to be able to start Jalen Wright. Let's see how he does. Kid's a bomber, and if he performs well, it's good for me. I think he can easily take the Mostert role there and that really creative running offense. Matchup number 2, we got 2 shots, no cup against Mr. Ambassador. Sleepers got this at 60%, and I'm not going to argue. I got Mr. Ambassador going 1-1 here. Brady Star Dynasty against Huge Dickup for matchup number 3. I believe the only matchup with the undefeated, actually there's 2. But Brady Star Dynasty's favorite at 58%. I've got Commish picking Brady Star Dynasty as well, going 2-0. All right, so this is the matchup of the week, boys. We got Bills Mafia, Moncton Meerkats. Man, Kyle, I believe he had a gauntlet of a start of the season last year, and it looks like the first 2 seasons are no different. He's going against Trust Process and Bills Mafia in the first 2 weeks. Sleepers got this one going to Bills Mafia's way by 53%, so it's a pretty tight margin, but I'm actually going to pick Kyle here. I think Kyle's team is doing tremendous. I think he's also going to have a really good start to the season again. And I've got Moncton Meerkats. This, I believe, is the only pick for me that I'm going against the sleeper projections here. But prove me wrong, Brandon. I think this is going to be a close one. This is going to be one to watch for sure. That said, that brings us to the last matchup. Both teams undefeated, so someone's going to end up with a victory here and going 500 for the season. Sleepers got the 63% for Full Jerry. I'm not going to argue. I'm sticking with Full Jerry here. I think he's going to go 1-1 in column, and Kevin dropping to 0-2 alongside Eve. So we'll see what happens. Still early in the season, anything can happen. Let's revisit and see what the playoff probability looks like come midseason. But for now, I'm going to sign off, boys. And that was it for the week 1 recap and the week 2 previews. I'm excited for this season, boys. I'm happy I'll get this video out. Let me know what you think about this format. I just found a new software recording video. I think this is kind of cool. I might do some other fun stuff with this. But signing off, it is 3 a.m. over here in Korea. But excited to wake up early in the morning, my time, and watch Thursday Night Football. So enjoy. Have a great rest of your day. and see ya.